Okay, time is running short. I've been told that we have to make sure this session will give enough time for the audience to ask questions. Otherwise, there will be a riot. So, so we have to go straight to the Q&A. Basically, we have 5 panelists, right? So then 3 of them are non-speakers. So we allow them to say a few words and to add on what Professor Tajuddin and Joanna have already spoken. To share their personal feelings and passion about this subject. And after that, we'll open up the floor to Q&A. Before we start, I would like to get everyone to thank Joanna and for her patience and really demonstrate the good characters of Sabah and able to carry herself so well and under such a stressful situation, right? Yes, thank you everyone. Okay, and let me first throw a question to Tan Sri. I think Tan Sri Bernard, and as you all know, that Tan Sri Bernard has been a very seasoned politician, and he has been a CM for Sabah. But after his retirement, his last posting actually is the ambassador of Malaysia to Vatican for about 2.5 years. So, and I think to start this dialogue will be very appropriate to ask Tan Sri, your personal experience during that 2.5 years in Vatican, and how do you feel about the subject of diversity and religious tolerance after your time spent in Vatican?
Thank you very much. First of all, I think I would like to say congratulations to the professor for his very enlightening discourse today. It warms the heart to hear someone like him speaking. And I feel that I'm seeing a glimmer of hope that something will yet happen to this good country. I mean, the ecosystem inside the country at the moment has led this country to be very much divided. There's so much so that I could see not just one nation in Malaysia, but a lot more nations. A Malayan nation, an Indian nation, a Chinese nation, a Sarawak nation, a Sabah nation, and a nation of people like him, a Muslim, but who believes in plurality and the things we talk for. So that is how divided we are. So to get on to what your question is, then I have to say, when I became ambassador of Malaysia to the Holy See, I wanted to pay a courtesy call to Adnan Satem, who was my colleague in cabinet when he was still in cabinet in KL, before I go to Rome. So he came out to the door to open and said, "Come in, Pope." He told me, yeah? There's no official religion in Sarawak. We are secular. So I said, you made my day and my trip. And so it was a happy moment for me to come to go into Rome and see. So what is the job of the ambassador? So I mean, it's the first time that they have raised an ambassador from Malaysia to the Holy See. And of course, you know, the title Ambassador to Malaysia to the Holy See because the Holy See, I think the easiest way to describe it is that it is a body of world Catholicism, and the Vatican City is the Putrajaya of world Catholicism. But we have an ambassador along with a lot of other countries, Indonesia, Morocco, Egypt, Iraq, Lebanon, Turkey, they're all there. So I had a good time reflecting upon my life and the journey that I have before the next one coming. And so it was a very good stay. The first thing that I realized was that Rome is a good listening post and a good way of interacting with people and what people think about Malaysia and all this. So, but in one of the religious dialogues that I attended, international religious dialogues, it was the presence of the Indonesian delegation that I was very touched, because people from Nahdlatul Ulama came, and the first thing that the speaker was talking about was this: I'm from Indonesia. Indonesia is a country that practices secularism, and we are guided by Pancasila, which is the preamble of our constitution. In Indonesia, 5 religions are recognized: Islam, Catholic, Protestant, Buddhism, and Hinduism. Of course, now they've included Confucianism, and I think now kepercayaan. So there are 7 now. So then they went on to talk about how life is in Indonesia, and trying to ensure that the plurality works, that along the theme that you're saying, the diversity, I think can be a source of strength, and not a source of divisiveness. And so after the talk, somebody came up and asked a question from the audience. He said, I can't remember now whether it's from Pakistan or Bangladesh. He said, you have been talking about that, and I would like to ask you a question about Islam. He said, why is it that in my country we cannot marry an Arab, whereas your country is free? So the speaker said, sir, that is not Islam. That is your culture. We are Islam of the Nusantara. And that means it is not just based on the tenet of religion itself, but it grows within a community. So it was such an astounding thing that listened, and people are very appreciative. They get a huge clap for that, you know. And so I got excited myself, and I talk about it. I talked to the Prime Minister then. I said, sir, you're proposing you want Malaysia to be the leader of the world movement of moderates and all this. In fact, it's a foundation that is set up for the world movement of moderates. So I said, why don't we look at this possibility? I mean, I'm not a Muslim. I hope, please, forgive me for talking about it, I said. But why don't Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei, Southern Philippines, Southern Thailand all get together and look at this thing called Islam or the Nusantara and be able to lead in some way the religion? I do not know. So he himself got excited. So he asked me to see the Minister of Education and the Ministry of Education and all this. So everybody is taking notes. So I thought there was something going on, and perhaps Malaysia should then look at the global movement moderates as well and own it up. But it was not to be, because I couldn't go further than that, and I was removed from the Vatican as soon as the new Malaysia came in. Anyway, the other thing that I've been to, I'm taking too much of your time. One more minute, okay. So I've got a few more stories to tell you. But then I had a breakfast session with ambassadors from the Muslim countries, and I think a rabbi from the US. So it was talking about how the diplomatic communities can help towards easing this problem of religious divisiveness. And so he said, I think it's got to begin with the people of the book. Okay? The Jews, the Muslims, and the Christians. So I said, what about the Hindus and the Buddhists? So he said, listen, he said, the world's problem in religion starts with the people of the book. The children of Abraham are the worst offenders. If we can somehow get their act together, the rest might be easier because they don't have too much of the dogmas that we have, and we don't have all the rituals that we have. And so that was it. And then I visited the Islamic Center in Rome, talked to the rector, and I saw a lot of students coming in to the cultural center, the biggest in Europe actually. And so I had the rector giving me a little lecture on what's happening there, and my takeaway was this, because he told me they're trying to get people, Muslims of Rome, not Muslims in Rome. That's their teaching. So I had to ask, what's the difference between Muslims in Rome and Muslims of Rome? And he said, Muslims of Rome means the religion grows with the community. It is embedded in the ecosystem of the country, its history and so on, its culture and so on. But the religion moves along with that and be part of the country. Muslims in Rome means it has the trappings of a transient population where you are a Muslim, but you are in Rome. So you could come from anywhere there in Rome, and you are not really connected to the country. So they think that's how religion should be. So all these things that I've come across, and I feel that, as I said, there was still hope. That one day Malaysia might come to this and realize that there's so much to gain for us in addressing the question of diversity at the moment, and let us unite together. And there's no better example than, I will say, Sarawak, second only in Sabah. And Sarawak is the type of country that Malaysia could have been. I hope it's not too late. Thank you.
Thank you, Tan Sri. I would like to pass the floor to Dr. Roselind and then to Simon. And just give some comment briefly, and then we open up the Q&A to the floor. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Hock Song. Good afternoon. My name is Roselind. Okay, I think I would like to congratulate the organizer of this symposium, because I believe that they are actually walking the talk. Walking the talk in the sense that when I received the invitation, I don't know whether I was the second person that they asked, but coming from someone who is from the margin, I talk about marginalization, being invisible, being voiceless and all that, because I come from, a community that is a small community. So when you talk about marginalized community, when you talk about indigenous community, right? And when you talk about diversity and so on and so forth, I wonder whether we are also including the smaller community in our narrative, in the conversation that we're having. Are we actually thinking about the other people, the others, not just the bigger crowd, for example. So you have the Iban, the Kerajaan Dusun, the bigger one, the Bedayu. And then therefore, this is good. We should celebrate that, and we should include that, yeah? But coming from someone who's coming from the smaller community, and being always being by myself, even here, I think I'm the only Kayan. So you feel like receiving the invitation is like you are doing a good job. Just
checking. Any other Kayan here? Raise your hand to confirm the hypothesis.
There's a Kayan that's
Ah, they want more.
Yeah. And so we live our life being invisible, and we go through it, you know. So I feel like this is something that I should share with you because you have done the right thing. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the invitation. For me, I think I will zoom in here because just now, in fact, one of the youth wanted to ask a question but didn't get to ask a question. Then I asked him what is the question that he wanted to ask. And I felt that I wanted to address that. He was talking about education, university educations, and we also have questions from Fatu regarding more information about this MS63 and all these things. And I just want to concentrate now on the Kobok Commission. A lot of the things that we have said here regarding religious tolerance, in fact, Archbishop Simon once in one of the harmony work, he said, rather than using religious tolerance, we should start talking about religious acceptance. Accepting each other for being different, accepting each other for having their own belief. And we, in Sarawak, I'm referring to Sarawak because my study, not study, I read up a lot on Sarawak literature, not so much on Sabah, is because of the thinking of our forefathers. So if you look at, if you go and read and go and download Kobok Commission report, in fact it is online, available online. In the Kobok Commission report, paragraph 18, in one way, the British was actually saying this, you know. He said, in recent years, relations between the different communities have been excellent. And Sarawak has clearly had the good fortune of being a very happy country. But then he said, it is true that it is under the colonial administration where power manifestly rests not in any one racial group, but with the colonial power, which is held in regard for its efficiency and impartiality. The harmony of racial relations on the surface may tend to conceal latent friction. So in a way, he's saying that, you know, we are harmony because that time we have the we have the colonial power that is on top of us, who is taking care of us being fair, in a fair manner. But if you read on in the Kobok Commission, they also mentioned that there was actually already a overtone of, you know, people not being happy with each other races. And then when it comes to the formation of Malaysia, everybody reminded the Kobok Commission of the 9 cardinal principles. Do you know that in Sarawak we have something that is very similar to the Pancasila, and it was done in the first schedule of the Sarawak Constitution Order in Council in 1956. The 9 cardinal principles was in fact much earlier on in 1941 or 47, if I'm not mistaken. And in that 9 cardinal principle, one of the things is Sarawak wanted to be self-government. But one of the very key issue was that Sarawak has always remembered and known that we are a country that practice complete religious freedom. So it doesn't matter what religion you are, everybody is free to practice their religious freedom. Because our histories, Prof. Tajuddin was saying that he doesn't know much about history of Sabah and Sarawak, right? People in Sabah and Sarawak also don't know. Because we study the same buku sejarah as you. Because the only idea I had of Sarawak, because I am from Seri, there was a hero from Seri, his name is Sharif Masaho. And that's it. And what does Sharif Masaho do? Nobody actually know, you know. And we don't know any of this history. We don't know Kobok Commissions. If you read Kobok Commissions give a lot of idea of what happened back then, you know. Do you know that in the Kobok Commission, they talk about a conference or of the 3rd divisions, and it was called the Kapit Resolution. The Ibans are 51 elected chief or pengaras of penghulus in that area conducted their own conference. Hey, generally speaking, over here in Sarawak, the non-Dayak, non-native tends to look down on the native community, correct or not? That is very true. But if you look at this Kobok Commission, they came up with the conference, and this conference was recognized. This conference even talked about what they were, the native community wanted. They come up with this conference. They talk about freedom, items number 6, freedom of religious worship. Items number 5, English as the main, as the official language of Sarawak. Ibans, you know, they don't say I want Iban as my national language. they want English as our national language. They talk about, this is the third divisions. Then we go to the second divisions, Iban. Second divisions, Iban, they don't do their they don't do their conference, but they came out with their own respective proposal as well. And as for religion, they mentioned this. There was a great and general feeling that Sarawak should be a secular state, and the suggestion was made that if Muslims were given assistance from the federal funds, other religions, including Christianity, was specially mentioned, should enjoy similar treatment. What I'm telling you is everything here. I'm just copying, you know. And then we talk about this, about the Ibans. Then the Malays also give their recommendations. The Malays, this is in paragraph 54, items F. Malays also say Malay should be adopted as the national language, and its use should be encouraged in the legislature. But it should be permissible for other languages, English or Iban, to be used. This is from the Malays. English should be retained as one of the official language, at least for a number of years. And that is why, when Sarawak Constitution was formed, we have English as our official language, and we don't have an official religion. And that's why, I believe because of the ideas of our forefathers who have that wisdom to come out with this kind of proposal at that time, that is why we have the Sarawak that we have today. And I feel that, this Coburg Commission's report should be made widely available in school, should be taught in school, that everybody should know that, our forefathers all talk about these issues. And they are very concerned about these issues. Not just the Chinese, the Malay, it's everybody. So when we talk about religious diversity here in Sarawak, racial diversity here in Sarawak, we must always remember the ideas of our forefathers, that our intention is always to live in harmony with each other. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Simon. All right, let's move on to the Q&A. I think, to be fair, I think the first round of the Q&A, we will take like 3 questions, but I would like to give the first question to the youth. Oh, is that okay? Yeah, I think that's only fair, right? So, can I have the first question for our younger generation? Yeah, you have the privilege to ask the first question. Any takers? No more young people. They're all gone already. They didn't get asked questions, so they run away. Oh, there's one guy. One gentleman there. Okay, come, raise. You can stand up. And then we have the second. So can somebody pass him the mic? Yeah. Some ladies who look young, you could also try. We wouldn't know.
So my question is not a question. It's a quote is from Francis Fukuyama from his book Identity. He wrote that nationalism and Islamism both are expression of hidden or suppressed group that seek public recognition. So if we look into that, what Fukuyama said that is happening in Malaysia now, in West Malaysia, in like, for example, Kelantan, Terengganu, and Kedah, where PAS has been in the government and influence people to have that mentality to support them, and sometimes they become extremists. So what is all the panel's comment about it? Yeah. What is your comment about?
Okay, before we get the panel to answer, can I take 2 more questions? Yeah, please, that gentleman. Very young. That guy looked like 18 years old.
Thank you, absolutely. I'd just like to make reference to what Professor Tajuddin said earlier on about diversity and how religion factors into this whole narrative about diversity. Yet at the same time, we cannot escape from the fact that religion has been quite an affirming definer of hegemony, especially so when politics comes into play and is trying to strengthen the power base to begin with of the Malay hegemony. So now I come to the issue of cultural identity and hegemony. Now, especially so, if a non-Muslim, correct me if I'm wrong, Prof, especially so if a non-Muslim indigenous group or people were to assume the Islamic faith, over time, not automatically, over time, he will begin to embrace maybe, okay, the faith, then the language, and the other cultural elements of the newfound faith. And eventually down the line, if not his generation, the next generation, he assumes a different cultural identity. So if you multiply this in terms of times, in terms of generation, you'll be witnessing the rise of a vanishing ethnic group. What are your comments?
Okay.
I invited comments from Prof.
All right. And one more question. One more question. The lady from the back. There's young lady. Confirm.
My question is, to my understanding, religion is very spiritual. It talks about non-human being, because we need to connect to God that we cannot see. And cultural is a lifestyle that we inherited from our forefathers, the way they live, the way they believe. And I just want to ask, if there is free will practice in our constitution, that can we make a choice? Because this is very personal. And can we make a decision for ourselves, or the government make for us? Try to influence us through the education, or sometimes through public announcement. I call it public announcement. Some practice are quite nuisance, because we have a nuisance law where we have to respect our neighbor. You stay in the apartment, you cannot make so much noises. But some practices are nuisance. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Before we start get the panel to answer the question, I think because the cultural diversity and religious diversity is a very, very broad topics, let's frame the discussion of today within the framework of nation building. I think that's the objective of today's agenda. So we focus from that perspective, right? So of course, as a host, we have to invite Pro, being the only minority here, have a privilege to answer the question first.
Okay, thank you very much. That's why I enjoy spending time outside of university. In university, they only want to know when's your assignment due and all that, so only good questions come from the public. First of all, before answering that, next time when the ambassadorship to the Holy See is open, I would like to suggest to Anwar to send Akmal Saleh to be the... Let him learn about diversity, spirituality, and also being a minority. Okay, with regards to the question on Islam and Kelantan, that is something that you need to invite me for another time. Okay, that requires me to give a lecture on what happened to Islam. See, Islam, there are which I classify as cultural Islam, institutional Islam, political Islam, and now you have the idea of what is called Madani Islam, or it's just said Madani, but it comes from that. Now, unless and until you understand the background of all these four, then it is very difficult to answer that question. For instance, this idea of cultural Islam. Cultural Islam is something which is what you have already been saying, that Islam is a personal. And at one particular time, during the 60s, you watch the P. Ramlee movies. I also call it the P. Ramlee Islam. And if you were to look at the Parliament building, and if you were to read the book by Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore Story, then you'll see that a different Islam is being practiced, where Tunku Abdul Rahman also drink alcohol, kata minum juga, sembahyang juga, that sort of thing. My father also, policeman, also drink, and it's considered after you pension, then only you become very, very Islamic lah, So then along came this Islamic reform, and fortunately or unfortunately, I was part of it in a side way, because I went to the United States. When in the United States, there were two movements. One is called the Islamization of knowledge, where a group of scholars, not clerics, started to think about how do we look at ilmu or knowledge and the scientific knowledge, because Islam is being held back by the traditional ulama, and so there is this renaissance of thinking about how Islam can also be part of this, because Islam was the bridge between the Greeks philosophy as well as the Western civilization by saving the books from being burned and translating. The whole scholarship is there for that. Then there is institutional Islam. Institutional Islam is when something becomes a law and you have a body to say, okay, this is how Islam should be practiced. Once upon a time, it was not that popular, but now it is very powerful. Now, unfortunately, now it's being held by, of course, religious cleric who learn religion only and not multidisciplinary. So there you have a huge problem. And I've been telling people that the concept of Madani Islam being proposed by Anwar Ibrahim is the only way out, because that is the one that has an element of acceptance, of idea of not being very narrow as what the questioner was saying just now. But unfortunately for Anwar, he was 20 years too late. You see, he started this thing of Islamic reform. It was supposed to lead to this civilizational understanding where the Malays no longer would talk about supremacy of race, but talk about these values of Islam, which is lebih kurang sama dengan Christianity, lebih kurang sama dengan Judaism, and you say these three Semitic religion. Yang peliknya dalam Quran, they're supposed to be friends. You know, if you look at the Quran says you must believe, part of the tenets of faith is to believe in the teachings before this, in the Injil and in the Torah, in the Zabur. It's supposed to have that. And if you don't know, all the prophets that the Muslims have to memorize, Moses, Yusuf, all this, Yahudi. They are the Jews, they are the Israelites. And many Muslims actually don't know this relationship and do not understand at all, because they are being taught what I call a tempurung Islam. Okay? What is it? I'm not being derogatory. I'm just being a pragmatic and being an academic, very, very clear, because a tempurung means you are safe. Okay? So I said, of course, if you put 5 cockroaches there, they are safe from the cats and everything. But after 5 days, they'll all die. Okay, they cannot kembang. But that seems to be the way that religion, especially Islam, I don't want to talk about other religion because I don't know much, but in Islam is being taught, in order to be a good Muslim, you must be in this tempurung. In order to be in heaven, you must be in this tempurung. For me, this is not right, because education, whether it's religion or secular, is supposed to equip you with certain things for you to meet the unknown. Cabaran semasa dan cabaran yang kita tidak kenali. So we need to have the elements of reading, research, learning, unlearning in order to survive. Not to teach so that you can be safe. Kalau you buat macam tu, you will never be berkembang. So the question about freedom of religion and all that is tied with this tempurung mindset. In order to be safe, you must be with your own people. You must strengthen the institution. Now there is a political party pula. You must make this political party win. So that is the narrative. So the narrative that can free it is this Madani narrative, which everybody is laughing at. Why? Because it is badly explained. It is not being explained very well. And then the Malays, of course, prefers the tempurung, the safer way, than to try to interact with Christians, try to interact with Buddhists. What for? You know, they will say, buat apa pergi interact dengan Christian? But then you go to Westminster for holiday, tak apa. Nak pergi dengar some ceramah dekat church, tak boleh. Ya? Tapi nak pergi Vatican boleh kot, I think. Boleh kan? Boleh. So, you know, this kind of thing. So jadi there is one needs to understand the background of what happened to Islam in Malaysia particularly. And I did offer one seminar privately, but I'm glad to come again to actually discuss in detail what actually happened to Islam and how I think we could get out of this situation.
Okay, thanks, bro. And any other panelists want to add on?
Maybe I'll just answer the questions regarding neighbors. Recently, Archbishop Simon, he said he attended this Federation of Archbishop conference in ASEAN. And he mentioned that because whenever we refer to religion that is not our own, we call them others, or we call them non-Christians, or in the some other case like non-Buddhist, non-Muslim. He said the way we think and the way we speak has to be more careful now. Not careful in the sense that when we speak, we don't derogate other people. And the terms that is used in that conference is that the neighbor religion. Why do we use the word the neighbor religion? Is because we don't consider them to be our opponents, They are not our enemies. They are also our neighbors, just like what Prof. Tajuddin earlier on said regarding the monk quotes. He said that who is the most important person is the person in front of you. And I think that is, I think we also have to have this shift of mindset that, whenever we refer to people who is not the same religion as us, we have to refer them as a neighbor religion. My neighbor. Because in the Bible, we talk about loving your neighbors. Jesus himself talk about loving your neighbors. And I think that is a way that we have to shift that mindset. And then talking about practices that is, not comfortable to our own zone, In fact, near to my house, there's a guy, there's a house that actually have I don't know whether it's a Taoist temple behind the house. And it is, according to the bylaw, you're not supposed to have your own temple in the house that invites a lot of people to come, but then they invited the whole procession, all sorts of people come, and we are a very small town, a very small neighborhood only. And then the YBs also came and gave donations, Really? And by the laws you are not allowed to do all these things. And I think it is also very important that law enforcement also have to look into these things, because there are bylaws that you have to follow. But the moment you empower these kind of people, then you give rise to setting up of small other temples, illegal temples, which could be a front for other things. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thanks, Simon. And so I think time is really limited, and so to save more time for the next session, I think we should close this, and otherwise this topic will never end. And it will never end, right? Because this the dispute and argument has been continued for 1,000 years. But I think one of the key message we take away is Malaysia and Borneo State, we are at the crossroad. And people here in this audience and also Malaysian throughout Malaysia have to do serious soul searching, right? Where are we leading the nation to in the next century? And what will be the future identity of a Malaysian and Borneo, Sabah and Sabahan, which will bring us to the better prosperity, peace, and then progress in the future? I think this is a very big question. We hope that the young generation will take it back and think about it, and hopefully more initiative will be put forward to make more effort in this aspect. Right? Thanks a lot. And so we end the session. Can I invite all the audience to give a big applause? To our capables and our panelists and speakers. Thanks a lot.